kick off. Okay. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I'll move along to the next slide. We've got mainly Kiwis on here tonight by the looks of it. I think we've got a couple of internationals as well. It would be good if you could let us know if you are joining us from outside of New Zealand, just to make sure that we're catering for the right information. So to get underway, there's three of us on the call tonight. I am Claire and I'm based here in New Zealand. So I'm talking to you from Auckland. I've just taken off my puffer jacket. It's freezing cold here. I'm a primary trained teacher. I taught in New Zealand for 3 years. I trained at Massey University in Palmy, and then I went to London, and I lived and worked in London as a teacher for 2 years, and then I came back to New Zealand. So I've been supporting educators making the move ever since, and I look after Kiwis who are moving to Australia as well as to the UK. And yeah, luckily tonight we're joined by two of our experts from Australia, so I'll pass you over to Christy to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Christy. So I'm based in Brisbane now, but also from New Zealand originally, from Auckland, also a primary teacher. So similar to Claire, I taught in New Zealand in primary, moved over here to Queensland and did some teaching, and then also over to the UK, where I ended up in education recruitment and was in love with Queensland. So came back and with ANZUK now, so I support for teachers looking for positions within Brisbane, but we also oversee regional Queensland and Northern Territory as well.
Cool, thank you. And we've got Ellen, another Kiwi.
Yeah, another Kiwi over here. Hi guys, I'm Ellen. I'm the International Arrivals Consultant based in Sydney. So I'm not actually a teacher myself. I haven't trained in teaching, but I've always had a passion for education and worked in education in New Zealand as well, and then decided to come over to Sydney, and yeah, so I support educators who are moving to Sydney and New South Wales, and trying to make that transition as smooth as possible. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, and I'll pass it back to you, Claire.
Oh, thank you. And just a little bit about who we are. It's not something that we're used to as such here in New Zealand, working through an agency, although ANZUK do have offices here in New Zealand. So we started out, the founder of ANZUK is a teacher himself, and he went and worked in London, and it grew from there. So it was originally an agency supporting Australian and Kiwis going to London. That was over 20 years ago. So we've now got 300 staff globally, 21 offices around the world. And tonight we're focusing on our Australian business, which we've got 9 offices across Australia, so we've got really good coverage there. But yeah, just to mention, we also do have a team based here in New Zealand, and they support teachers finding permanent work here, as well as relief teaching in Auckland and Wellington as well. So we really do sort of cover the whole idea is that we're there for you wherever you are in the world, and we can follow your journey. A lot of Kiwis go to Australia, earn a little bit more money to save up, and then go on to do their UK journey after that. So we can sort of follow you around wherever you go. We're also a free service, and there's no obligation putting a CV to us, and we're sort of there to help you find work. So yeah, we're free, which is great. So tonight we're going to be covering what you need to do to be able to move from New Zealand or another country into Australia. We'll touch on the education system there, and then talk about where you can work, what kind of schools you can work in, and the types of roles, and how we support you in that process. We will have questions at the end, but if you like, you can also pop them in the chat as we go. So if we're talking and you think of something, pop it in the chat, and then the three of us can sort of try and get to those as we move through tonight. Okay, so some of the real basics of being able to move over. I know most of the people on the call are from New Zealand, but I think we have got, as I said, a couple of internationals. So if you're a New Zealand passport holder, a citizen of New Zealand, you don't have to do anything to be able to live and work in Australia. So you could book a one-way flight tomorrow, turn up to Brisbane, and there's nothing that you have to do. So you're an immediate permanent resident. You have all the same rights as an Australian citizen. We just can't vote and we can't access a benefit. And then there's a pathway, is it 4 years, guys, to get citizenship in Australia? Do you know? I think it might only be
I think so. It's 4 or 5.
Yeah. So pretty quick pathway to, if you wanted to actually get the Aussie passport as well. If you're from another geography, you will need to have a visa to be able to work in Australia. We aren't visa experts, so when it gets to this point, we will normally defer you over to a migration agent. If you're eligible for a working holiday visa, we can sort of send you a bit of info around that. But yeah, that's not our expertise, and we don't want to be giving you the wrong information there. So there are several pathways that you can explore, and if you contact me after this, I can send you through sort of a starting point for that. There is sponsorship as a really tricky option at the moment, where we can touch on that, but currently we are finding that sponsorship is a tricky avenue to go down currently. The education system. So in Australia, every state has their own teaching council. So they all also have their own curriculum as well, but they're all pretty aligned, and they're all pretty aligned to the New Zealand system as well. So we're really lucky. New Zealand sort of comes into a mutual recognition agreement that Australia has between their own states, and it reaches into New Zealand as well. And what that means is if you're registered as a teacher in Australia, in New Zealand, then you will be able to register as a teacher in any state in Australia. And if you're fully registered here, you will be recognised as a full registered teacher over there. Normally what that means is still a lot of paperwork for you, but a little bit of a quicker processing time. In Australia, they generally have a 4-year degree. So if you've got a bachelor's degree, a 3-year degree, as long as you're registered here, you'll still be able to work as a teacher over there. The curriculum, Christy might be a bit more help for you on this one, but generally exam-based more than we are. Christy?
Yeah, they probably, so, and again, each state might slightly differ in their curriculums. So there is the Australian curriculum, which most follow, but then, like, for example, within Queensland, there's the QCAA, where it is probably a bit more prescriptive compared to New Zealand curriculum in terms of units that will then generally follow content and assessment sort of format. So yeah, I'd say mostly more prescriptive and with assessments in that aspect compared to New Zealand curriculum. Yeah.
Probably easier to transition to rather than coming to New Zealand and coming to grips with NCEA, I would imagine. And then the academic year in line with New Zealand, so no big surprises there. And primary, we're really aligned. All the same programs that you're doing in literacy and numeracy are overlapping with what Australia is doing at the same time. If you could just pop in the chat what you teach, so whether you're primary or secondary, and if you're secondary, what subjects you teach, just again so the team can see, and it might sort of tailor what we're telling you. I don't know whether we've got any ECE on or not. I should have said that at the start. I have emailed out today. Generally, this session will be focused more on primary and secondary. So if you are ECE, I'm not offended if you want to roll off. We've got another ECE specific webinar in a couple of weeks. It's just the systems are quite different for ECE than what they are for primary secondary. So if you want to hop off and come back in a couple of weeks when we do our ECE one, that might be more helpful. So across Australia. So we'll jump into a little bit of an overview of the areas, and we'll put New South Wales, since Alan is sitting there right now, we'll hand over to Alan.
Yeah, so in terms of the different opportunities that we have in New South Wales, we offer permanent roles within ECE, primary and secondary and special education schools. We have a range. We work with a range of schools, whether that's independent or private, as well as department schools. We work with a variety of faith-based schools as well. So yeah, we also work with leadership and executive roles. We have a couple going at the moment. So if you do have experience in those leadership areas, please let us know. In New South Wales, we also have roles just within Sydney, west, east, north Sydney, northern beaches, eastern suburbs, but then also regionally we have job opportunities as well. So we have amazing incentives to move regionally as well, like relocation packages, as well as bonuses if you've stayed at those schools regionally for a certain amount of time. So yeah, I guess regional schools offer maybe more of a cultural experience as well, smaller communities. So it's definitely, lots of opportunities there if you're kind of looking for away from the city as well. There's definitely opportunities in those smaller communities as well. We also do have relief teaching, so I work closely with the casual relief team. So if you're looking for more casual, flexible work, we do have that as well within the early childhood, primary, secondary, and special education kind of sectors. And then in terms of sponsorship, it's not as likely within Sydney, but sponsorship is more likely to happen if you're in the regional areas of New South Wales. So if you are, really wanting kind of those sponsorship opportunities, those are going to be more regionally outside of Sydney. And then also we do have educator events too. So I usually organise those ones. So we've got, we recently had kind of more of a pub winter Christmas meetup, which was fun, and we've done bowls, go to NRL games. NRL's pretty big over here, so it's fun to kind of get amongst that. So yeah, lots of fun things to do around those areas.
I didn't hear about that midwinter Christmas. Photos haven't come out from that yet.
Yeah, no, it was good. And then, so registering in New South Wales, NESA is the kind of teaching authority based here. So you have to be in New South Wales to get the first step, which is you're working with children's check. So you have to be in New South Wales for that. It can take anywhere between 1 to 5 days. Sometimes it takes a couple of hours. It's honestly just dependent on how busy they are, but yeah, usually it's $107. And once you've got that working with children's check, that's when you'll be able to start applying for your NESA. So depending on if you're a New Zealand accredited teacher, then you can apply for New Zealand mutual recognition. And this takes about 2 to 4 weeks. And then if you are not a New Zealand accredited teacher, then you'll have to go through the kind of overseas accredited NESA application process, which takes around 4 to 8 weeks. So you can't start those, New Zealand mutual recognition and NESA registration processes until you've got your working with children's check, which you have to be in New South Wales for. So if you are kind of intending to move over here, if you're from New Zealand, you could always come for a weekend to get that working with Children's Check if that's possible. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, it's a matter of getting that working with Children's Check first. And there is possibility to secure a job without the New South Wales teacher accreditation. But yeah, it's definitely like an ongoing process. But yeah, that's a little bit about registering in New South Wales.
And obviously Ellen knows a lot about it, and it's something that we will support you as part of our support, is helping you take you through. We've got guides and information, and we're here to help with all of those registration things. So Victoria, Melbourne, it's really our hub. We've got 4 offices across Melbourne and 160 consultants on the ground there. So there's everything is going on there. We cover the entire Greater Melbourne as well as the entire state of Victoria. We've got a big regional team there too. And we do everything. So contract, permanent, I have an update, as well as the relief teaching as well. So you can get guaranteed relief teaching if you want. You can get 5 days a week guaranteed CRT, they call it, casual relief teaching. It's becoming more popular. We've sort of got teachers who are sort of 2-3 years in, who might have normally gone to the UK for a working holiday, are now looking to go to Melbourne and taking some time and having a good time living in a big global city. All their big events come through and starting out doing relieving and enjoying themselves there. So that's sort of becoming a bit more of a theme as well. So the team there, we've got a big permanent placement team that Christy is part of. That they're right across the country, and they can help you sort of secure roles there. We'll come across that shortly, and lots of big educator events as they do in Sydney too. So the registration board for Victoria is called the VIT. This one you can get done before you arrive. They don't like you to apply too far out, but if you're looking to go in January, process in October, so 2 or 3 months out before you get there. Again, the mutual recognition is a win if you're New Zealand registered, and it's not going to hold you up from securing a job by not having your VIT registration, so you can secure that beforehand. And again, we've got a guide on this as well, and here to help through that process.
Well, I will speak to the opportunities that we've got in Queensland and also Northern Territory. So in Queensland, we do permanent and contract positions. So that is in EC, primary, secondary, and special education as well. Also, we do have an executive team that works on those from middle leadership to senior leadership positions within schools. So whilst Brisbane is sort of the main hub of that within Queensland, Queensland's a massive state, and so regionally there's quite a few opportunities up towards on the coast as well, heading up towards far north Queensland. So sort of the likes from Mackay, Townsville, Cairns, as well as then inland, places like Mount Isa and that as well. We know that Kiwis often dream tourist spot and holiday destination is places like the Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast. Whilst there are schools and we do support in those areas, they are highly competitive. So it's probably just something to bear in mind if you're looking at Southeast Queensland, that roles there, can be, the market for it is quite high supply of teachers and looking for roles in those areas, and then the amount of jobs that there are is probably more limited given they are still technically regional. And we're based in our office in Brisbane, so that's where we do support similar to New South Wales. We have educator events, also did a midwinter Christmas, which was great within the city there. And so we're a team of so there's about 5 of us, so we are much smaller than the likes of Victoria and New South Wales, but within that we cover all areas of Brisbane, from the north down to the Gold Coast, and regional Queensland as well. But yeah, and then I'll just flip to the next slide to chat about what the registration sort of process looks like in Queensland. That's okay. So for Queensland, you'd need to have QCT registration, which is there's probably no limit in terms of how early you can have that. It would be one of those things, once you're registered with QCT, it would just be a matter of that you would keep paying that annual fee if you do have it earlier. It is also something that, with having that mutual recognition as a New Zealand registered teacher, you'll essentially be granted that QCT registration quite quickly, as opposed to if you are coming from another geography or overseas, where it can take sort of up to 10 to 12 weeks for that to be processed, as well as through mutual recognition. Most of it can all be done through the online portal. You will need to post some documents, however, as well, but that generally takes about 2 to 4 weeks where you'd get a deemed registration. There might be a couple of extra things to do within that, but that would be all you need to teach within Queensland. So you don't need to worry about anything like a blue card or working with children's trick. Your QCT registration would cover all of that. In terms of the schools we work with, we do work within private and public schools. With the public schools that we work with, they're sort of under another registration, which is something that can only be done once you are in Queensland. But having that QCT is sort of the first step to that. It would be also, it's another thing. You can still secure interviews and roles before having QCT, but it is just a help to have it. And given there's sort of no limit on how early you can make that registration, and through mutual recognition, it can come quite quickly. It's sort of just one of those quite easy processes as well.
Northern Territory.
Yeah, so Northern Territory, another state in Australia that we look after, which for, like, I guess it's got quite the Australian experience in terms of it is a lot warmer. It gets pretty warm, but can also get drastically cold. And so in terms of if you're looking for that really Australian experience and something completely new, somewhere like the Northern Territory would be a great place to really add to a toolkit of experiences as a teacher, as they do have a high number in some of the more rural areas. Obviously, we do work with Darwin, a couple of independent private schools in Darwin, and then there's also more remote rural places in the Northern Territory that have a high number of First Nations or Indigenous students, in much smaller communities as well. With Northern Territory, there is a slightly higher pay scale that they sit on. So that would start at around, for new grads, that 94,000. Also, in terms of, because of the locations of some of the schools within Northern Territory, there can be opportunities for sort of either incentives or accommodation assistance. In all those cases, it is all individualized or circumstantial in terms of what exactly that support can look like. But certainly some of the landscapes and things in the Northern Territory would be sort of a once in a lifetime opportunity to be able to experience, and in some of those communities as well, in terms of really giving back as well. So lots of growing opportunities within NT as well. I'll flick to the next one. Mm-hmm. With the registration process in Northern Territory, relatively similar to QCT, but it's just called the Teacher Registration Board Northern Territory. You would need to have your Working with Children's track, which is separate. So you need to have that one to then apply for the TRB as well. And so that one takes a little bit longer than QCT. It's not sort of the same process through mutual recognition. So you sort of want to allow for about 10 weeks for that one there. Yeah.
Cool. So WA, obviously a bit of a further flight, but really popular with Kiwis. The climate and the beaches appeal to a lot of Kiwis. They offer permanent roles for ECE, primary, secondary, and special education needs. Lots of demand and special education there as well. And they also do contract. We're seeing more and more contract roles and even some temp work starting in Perth. It's start only in early stages. If you're primary and secondary, at the moment there probably wouldn't be enough temp work, CRT work to keep you busy, but it's something that's coming. There's really good incentives in WA as well if you're open to going regionally, things like paying your flights to get in and your relocation costs to move. And they have opportunities in Metro Perth as well as across the state. So they're a growing office, and they also hold educator events as well for their travelling teachers. So there's always plenty going on there too. Really nice team there in WA. And they boast, I would say, the best teacher registration board to register with. I have teachers coming back or two. Whoops, I think my connection's not so good. So really quick and easy, that one, the TRB, and you can get it all done before you arrive. So it's got a bit of a reputation for being the easiest one. These fees here, that is if you are from an international other country. For New Zealand, it's 180 to register. So they're kind to us. South Australia, also, it's one of our smaller teams, but they are getting lots of roles for permanent, again, ECE, primary, secondary and special education needs. So they mainly get their positions across Adelaide, but again, regional opportunities are many. If you're open to teaching regionally in Australia, you will get a lot of interest and some good opportunities your way. Again, leadership and executive, that's across all of the states as well. So yeah, good team. And they've also got their own teacher registration board there. A little bit more of a process. I just had a teacher go through that last term. It was a little bit of to and froing, but she managed to secure that before she arrived as well. Again, we'll support you through all those sorts of things anyway. So now we've done a bit of a sales pitch on all the states. Any states that you're interested in? I mean, you might have friends. Most Kiwis have got friends or family over there anyway. But let us know what state you're interested in. If you could pop that in the chat box. If you've got, that's a question there. If you've got provisional teacher registration in WA, you can probably, Alina, you can probably do mutual recognition. So, we've got a really good range of interest. It's good. Okay, cracking on. So types of work that you can do. I'm going to pass over to Ellen for this one because she supports a lot of our educators who are starting out with relief teaching.
Yeah, so casual relief teaching is a really good option if you are moving over here and you're kind of wanting a little bit of a taster of a variety of different schools. So yeah, it's varying in terms of the daily rate depending on what state you're going to be working in, as well as independent or public schools. But in Victoria, it's around $427 a day. To $486 a day, and then in New South Wales it ranges between $390 to $460, and that's around that's for more of a provisional rate, and then if you're a proficient teacher it goes up from there, and then you can also get casual relief teaching in Victoria and New South Wales, an ECE as an early childhood teacher. So if you're fully qualified, you can get $317 a day for that as well. We have our own Ready to Work app, so it's really easy to kind of use that and log your availability and contact us as well. It's a great way to build build relationships with different schools in the area, kind of get an idea of what you like and what you're kind of interested in doing, maybe more long term, as well as having those relationships with schools. You can potentially move into more contract or permanent based roles, and it's also really allows you to have flexibility. So if you're wanting to have that flexibility to go away and maybe visit another state or have that lighter workload, then you can have that because it's casual. So that's really nice, and it allows you to diversify your experience as well and trying different schools. And maybe you haven't tried a special education and you want to see how you go in that area, and you can give it a go, which is really cool as well.
Yeah, you can't beat that feeling of when you're a casual relief teacher and you walk out of the school at 3:15 and I've got nothing, nothing that I have to do. It's a pretty nice feeling. Yeah. It's definitely something that's good to do in your career at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
So I work on our permanent opportunities team, obviously in the Queensland office, but we are across all the states, and we do have quite high collaboration across that. So in terms of how we support, so we focus, I guess, opposite to CRT, more so on permanent positions, as well as we will support with contract. So that could be minimum a term contract up to a 12-month contract. A lot of the time here in Australia, some schools, depending on what their staffing and that looks like, they may only be in a position to offer contracts in the first instance, which can then sometimes turn into permanent if all going well, in the school and it's something you like as well, which can be a really good option, especially if you are coming new, new to Australia, new to the school systems, and all of that. Sometimes it might be, a better idea to be taking a contract position to ensure that, you do actually like that as opposed to permanent as well. We work on behalf of the schools, so they will sometimes come to us first with the opportunities or vacancies that they have. So with the relationships that we essentially create with the range of schools that we work with, which do include private, independent, which when we sort of speak that's sort of schools that like your grammar schools, often sometimes more traditional, so single sex or sort of your top academic schools, as well as the public schools as well. So they'll often let us know of vacancies upcoming in terms of how to help with their recruitment. Also with those relationships we have, it can be the other way where in conversations that we have, we sort of find out about, what their needs are and then be able to support in finding opportunities that way, especially when you are moving from overseas. So being able to have that insight to the schools as well as direct contact. So I guess that's where we can be the biggest support in terms of getting your details and qualifications and things in front of a school maybe a bit quicker than going through sort of an advertised job advertisement. So would also help you through the process. So depending where you are looking at going, you'd be put in touch with the right team, and depending on what your subjects are or where particularly in that state you might be looking at moving to or interested in opportunities, would be able to guide you through that process of what registration it is that you needed, being aware of what opportunities that sort of align with your preferences may be upcoming or help seek those for you. And really from that screening process that we have with you, we're wanting to understand, definitely about you and what you're looking for in terms of the whole lifestyle as well, so that we can really make those right matches with what opportunities we might have and help you with the transition over to Australia. Yeah. So as Claire mentioned before, it is a free service to you, and sort of like I just touched on with that screening process. So when you kind of know where you're going, you'd be assigned with a consultant who would essentially be able to support you and guide you through that process. So that starts from an initial call, which we often would aim to do a digital meeting, so via Teams, so we can really understand what your plans are, what your timeline looks like, chat you through all the intricacies around, registration, or if there is any visa requirements, as well as then what opportunities within your subject areas and that might look like, or what's coming up on your timeline. With that, if we identify suitable opportunities and secure interviews, which might be whilst you're still in New Zealand, we would be able to support with interview preparations for that. We'd also, before we've even submitted your details to a school, we would have reviewed your CV and had a look at that, and obviously do checks on sort of get references and everything, so it's a strong application to a school. As well as getting, like I say, in front of the schools, maybe a bit more direct than just going through a online advertisement. We also support then with, getting feedback for interviews and what that whole process is right up until your arrival, as well as that post placement support too. So that's where sort of our educator events and things come in. So even once you've started a school, we'd continue with those check-ins, seeing how it's going. If it is, a contract position and that's coming to an end, we would then also be there as support for new opportunities post that as well. So we're really there through every step of the way.
Thanks, Christine. Oh, still going.
Yeah,
sorry.
With the pay and conditions, now generally it is all based on experience in terms of the pay, so it will differ slightly state to state, and it can differ school to school in terms of what, if it's a private institution, it may be slightly different to what the state pays, but the differences are sort of between 2 and 4%. It is, I think, higher than New Zealand, but yeah, similar to, I guess, in New Zealand where you've got the kind of government, and that is the same for all teachers. Yeah, it can differ school to school and state to state here, but I think the main thing to note is that teaching here, you always have superannuation that is on top of a base salary. So your total remuneration, you might see it as the base salary, but then there will be an extra 12% on top of that goes into superannuation as well. All your salary assessment would be based on number of years teaching. And so it's always really helpful once you are making that process over and getting to these stages. It is important to be able to gather statements of service to verify your number of years teaching, so that schools or even the state systems can salary assess you correctly on where you would sit on their banding. Yeah.
That superannuation is so good. It's yeah.
Cool.
Ellen, I think.
Yeah. So the types of schools we work with a wide range of schools. So, it's really helpful when you do have a chat with your consultant to let us know kind of what your preference is for like a certain school that you're interested in working at. As you said, we've talked about private and independent schools, which tend to be more of the traditional or kind of maybe more faith-based schools as well, a variety of faith-based schools, mainstream government schools, special education schools as well. So that's another area where there's like quite a high demand for teachers as well as co-ed or single-sex schools as well. So yeah, whatever you're kind of interested in, we'll support you with whatever your preference may be.
Yeah, pretty much every school you can think
exactly.
of.
Yeah.
Christy, do you want to talk on this one, just around the timelines?
So with the school year, so same as New Zealand, it is broken up into 4 terms, which are mostly in line with New Zealand. Sometimes it's just 1 or 2 weeks out, dependent. I think the main point to be aware of if you are seeking an opportunity in Australia but already working in New Zealand, potentially in a permanent position, the only time we find things a little bit trickier is due to notice periods. So I don't know if it is the same for New South Wales or Victoria, but In Queensland particularly, it is sort of really a maximum 4-week notice period here, which means that a lot of vacancies and that can come up to 4 weeks before the end of the year. So I think it's just something to bear in mind in terms of if you're looking at making a move over, what that looks like in terms of if it is that you would like to have a position secured prior to you needing to give notice, because I do know in New Zealand it is an 8-week to a term notice that needs to be given, and just sometimes the alignment of that can be a bit trickier and probably limit opportunities slightly. Whereas if you sort of know that you are going to be moving at a set date and that's when you're available from, it probably gives a little bit more ease and keeps the opportunities open right up until the end. So for example, if you were a teacher and wanting to secure a position for January 2026, but you wanted to have that position secured prior to putting in your resignation, that resignation for you would need to be put in around sort of end of October. However, there may not be that position known to be vacant until 4 weeks before the end of the school year, which is the 12th of December. So it's just sometimes aligning that time with notice periods and what that looks like for yourself. Because then, if that opportunity doesn't come up until you're out of the dates to give your notice, it can just make that a little bit tricky. So I guess that's just something to be aware of when sort of making plans and what it does look like for the timeline of securing positions whilst overseas as well, that they do opportunities come up right up until the week before school goes back. And I guess it's also coming from New Zealand as well, being that much smaller and that they do have that 8-week notice period, there probably is more security that things are quieting down around that time, I guess, before the start of the year, where it is almost the opposite here, where even over the Christmas period, there are opportunities still popping up right up into the first week of the school year. So, just something to bear in mind, I think, in terms of your timeline with looking at positions and when they come available.
It's very stressful for the schools, It's real juggling act. And then if you're casual, well, you can turn up whenever you like. But again, it's the same as here in New Zealand. So the start of the academic year, the first few weeks are going to be really quiet for work, as well as tailing off towards the end of the academic year, especially for secondary work. So it does start to get a bit quiet. Okay, another question. We're at the pointy end. We're just about finished up, but when are you looking to go? So if you've got any ideas of when you're looking to go, let us know. Now we've just put up, these hot jobs are actually a bit more general hot jobs, but you can see a range of secondary and primary, because we've got Chris. We've got some regional Queensland and some Northern Territories represented here. So, they're sort of looking for, I've misspelt coordinator. That's annoying. Now that's all I can see. But range of secondary roles in regional Queensland. They're sort of starting as soon as you can get there. Full-time permanent roles. Secondary science, obviously that's Northern Territories, which is Christy's talked about before, but that's just one of the many roles. Regional New South Wales, we've got a fabulous consultant there, Shah. She's always looking for primary educators, as well as sort of math science too, and they're all starting. If you said you were going for term 4, she would have a job for you ready. And then I've just sort of filled up the last one with Melbourne again, because it's our biggest area. Independent, faith-based, private schools, whatever you're looking for, it's on offer there. Okay, so I was going to pass this one over to Ellen. She's kind of touched on this, but
I have kind of touched on this, but we do organise really fun community events, so it's a really nice opportunity for you to meet other teachers in our community, and see like-minded people, and kind of do a little bit of networking as well. So we do lots of different kind of fun activities, whether that's yoga at the beach or sports games, pub quizzes, and lawn bowls, lots of different things. So opportunity to meet others, which is cool too.
And then we've got this Facebook group. I'll send through a follow-up email after this, and that will have a link to our Facebook group. It's actually really active. Lots of people asking about registration questions, but also people posting rooms and things like that. It's a really good active group. So where to from here? The initial process is, as I said, I'll get the email out. There'll be a link there where you can book in a call with me. If you are tuning in from another geography, we have got global consultants based in Canada, the UK and Europe as well. So they're sort of there to support you if you're coming from any of those areas. And then we'll have a chat. So if you say, I really want to go to the Northern Territory, Queensland, then I'll be looping Christy in, and she'll be reaching out, or one of her team, to get in touch, and they'll be starting the process from there. If you say that you're looking to go to Sydney, then it's going to be Alan reaching out to you. So whichever geography you're going to, we'll match you up to the right person. And then depending on what sort of work you're after, the ball will be rolling, and we'll sort of get the things in action. Ultimately from there turn into a job offer, or if you're ready for CRT, then we'll make sure that you're fully compliant and all of the clearance and checks are done before you arrive, so that if you, as soon as you land, ideally you might be able to get out, start teaching the next day if you want. Probably don't want, but if you did. And then obviously we've got that huge support network for you on the ground in Australia. We're not just sort of placing you into a school and forgetting about you. We're there. You'll be invited to events. If you need any support, we're on the ground there for you. So that's my link, actually, if you want to book in a call. But as I said, I will send a follow-up. It'll be out in a couple of days once we've got the recording of this session as well. We've tried to sort of keep on top of questions as we've gone, but we will open up for questions now as well. You will note I've said no visa questions, just again because we're not visa experts. So we do encourage you, if you've got any visa queries, then to contact a migrant specialist. There's Darren Chat from Visa Go is a big one that ANZUK will refer people to. He's based in Australia and specialises in teachers coming in. So I'll put that in the email as well. So thanks for joining us. If you need to jump off now, we really appreciate your time, and we hopefully will keep in touch with you. Otherwise, if you want to fire through questions, then you can either I'm not sure if you can unmute yourself or not, but otherwise just pop them in the chat. We'll give you a couple of minutes on that. If we sort of, and if you just want to talk to them as well, Christy and Alan, if you want, if there's any on there that you've seen that we haven't got to. Any interest? Let's go back. We do have a couple of sponsorship questions. We don't really have a list of schools that sponsor. It doesn't really work like that. A big state that did used to sponsor was Victoria, but that's currently not been given the go-ahead for 2026. So at the moment, sponsorship is a really tough area. All we're doing currently is holding on to your details, and until the government changes or relaxes the rules around that, we will occasionally get an opportunity, but yeah, we would just keep your details. And there's no age limit. There can be an age limit for some of the visas that you're looking at, but if you're a New Zealand passport holder, there is no age limit. We have educators who will retire here and then go over and do a couple of years teaching over there. And yes, the information will be shared. Christy, is there sponsorship for WA for Northern Territories?
There is potentially sponsorship in Northern Territory. Again, it's very circumstantial. We do have a school also in regional Queensland that does have sponsorship license, but that's not a guarantee that that sponsorships are handed out. It would be dependent on yeah, I guess subjects teaching and yeah, sort of I guess situational as well. So it would be, yeah, if you are interested in sponsorship, there is a couple of opportunities within regional Queensland and Northern Territory, but like we say, we generally work with teachers who do have working rights first, just as it is a bit more of a process for schools as well to do sponsorship. So yeah, we can discuss it, and I'm happy to take those queries and discuss the areas that we can do sponsorship, but it's not a guarantee that we can get a sponsorship position secured.
Okay.
And then I saw your question, Laura, about finding a rental. So Domain and Real Estate are two quite good websites that I actually used when I moved over here. Yeah, in terms of regionally, some schools, if you find a school, a job in a regional area, some do offer regional accommodation as well. Whether they're subsidised or free, that depends on the school as well. But yeah, Domain and Real Estate are probably going to be your best bets.
And we do have good resources and support around that as well. So as you go through the process, we've got lots of good information around finding accommodation and things like that. And like Alan said, some of the regional New South Wales schools, I think we've got 2 or 3 Kiwis working in quite a regional school, and they've all got free housing at the moment. So yeah, there's some good chances. And then Lily, if you can do teacher rating in special needs schools, if you'd have to be open to special needs, and we only do that in Melbourne on a working holiday visa. Anything else, Christy, Ellen?
I think that's all the questions that have come through at the moment. Relatively answered. I guess there was that ECE one that would probably come under the ECE webinar that will be.
Yeah. So I can email you that. That depends on the state. Some ECE you have to register and some you don't. So yeah, we'll. I'll send through, if you've registered for this, I'll send you an email, Abdullah, after this, so you'll get some info. All right, and then you can sort of ask independent questions as well from there. TA in Sydney, there isn't, is there, Ellen?
No, no, unfortunately not.
Yeah. We have CV templates and CV support. Yep. So we'll get all that out to you as we move through the process. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Look out for my email. It won't be through tomorrow because we need to get the recording through as well, but you'll get the email on Friday as a follow-up. Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you later.
Thanks, Christy. Thanks, Ellen. Stop the recording. I had to stop the recording.
Is it ending?
Stop recording.